Columbia University graduates are looking at potentially being boycotted in the workforce over their protests. 13 conservative federal judges announced that they will no longer hire law clerks from Columbia College or Columbia Law School because of how the university has handled the protests. In a letter to Columbia University President Minouche Shafik, these judges said that their decision was because of the, quote, virulent spread of anti-Semitism, end quote, on the Columbia University campus. The group believes that the protests have gone too far and that Columbia has become a, quote, incubator of bigotry. They even had demands. They had like a demand letter. They had a whole thing. This feels wild to me, but maybe I'm misunderstanding. When you hear something like that, that they're actually saying Columbia grads can't even get a clerkship, what do you say?
Typically, Mark, when something like this happens, I find levity to enter into whatever I'm going to say. The reality is that there's absolutely zero funny about this. It's not funny. It's not cute. It's not quaint. It's chilling. And not to have my thoughts spill over into hyperbole, I want everyone to think about what's happening here. You have kids, young adults that see a wrong in the world. They see something that they don't like. And they do what they've been instructed to do as citizens of the global society and as Americans from a country who loves to talk about how it was birthed in protests, birthed in revolution, birthed in revolt, in dissent. They're doing that. They're doing the most American of things. They're doing what Colin Kaepernick did when he decided to look at the flag and assign its meaning as something other than freedom, to look at the flag and look at the blood in the flag and look at the cost and the tax in the flag that Black people have to pay and have always had to pay. He decided to do something about it, and they silenced him. And now what they're essentially doing is saying that these kids will be second-class citizens in perpetuity for making their voices heard, saying that they'll have trouble finding jobs. They'll have trouble existing in that world society that they hope to change. And they're leveraging the power of the structures that they've built, some of those structures off the back of Black and brown people, most of them, against them. This is, to me, one of the most tenuous, important, and sort of drop your nuts sort of times in American history. I never thought about us as being the opposite of the students in Tiananmen Square, although I should have. Although I should have, right? Because it's happened before. It's happened before. You've seen it. I don't want to appeal to anyone because I hate when people do that. I hate when people say, "Oh, you should" or whatever. But I know so many people of a different intellectual diasporas, and I would encourage them to use the time that they have now to intervene and put a stop to this. And for people to understand what it means when the lessons that you teach people whose brains are forming like they are, that their fight for justice, peace, and safety for people can be criminalized and penalized for life.
Yeah.
That's like I've been thinking about this all day, and I don't have anything funny to say. I don't have anything pithy to say. I'm scared. Like, to me, there's still impunity that Israel is acting with in the way that it's dealing with the citizens of Gaza, right? And the things that have buoyed that, and how well funded they are, and how their proximity to power, I don't know when that's going to erode. Like, yeah, Israel and what they're doing right now, it's very unpopular, particularly with a significant, with a specific demographic. But right now, what I care more about is that people understand that they can't do this. Like
Yeah.
that this right here is not just un-American, but this is a threshold that you cross that there's kind of no coming back from. We talked about it on Higher Learning today. There are several different states that are passing legislation that narrows the framework that you can use to criticize Israel.
Yeah.
There are also already states, as you know, a lot of this information I'm just regurgitating back to Mark because I got it from Mark. Mark is like, I did college and then I do my postgraduate studies at Marc Lamont Hill University. But there's states all over that have essentially outlawed BDS. What are you supposed to do? And then also the understanding that there's an intellectual quagmire here because what you're essentially creating is animus that's difficult to discern from animus that you might have from Israel,
Right.
and then animus that you might have from Jewishness. And it is our responsibility to separate our criticism of the state of Israel from a cultural or human criticism of Jewishness or worldwide Jewry, right? We don't want to put Jews across the diaspora at risk of being held responsible for something that Israel might do. Right. But when the narrative is that everything that Israel does, as far as Zionism, is swept up into a connection to Jewishness, it gets difficult for people to make that, to subtract those things from one another.
Yeah.
So, and then there's resentment, and then people actually go further. And when you pull all of these kids out of, and I love a radical, so I'm not talking down on radicals. What really happened to those hippies is they went and got jobs.
Yes. Yes. They sure did.
Like they went and got jobs and they cut their hair and they joined the workforce. They actually did what America wanted them to do. Right, they did, right? Which everyone pretty much does, everyone does to a degree. These kids, you're essentially building lifelong radicals that have no other choice but to keep their thumb in your ass for as long as they can. Yeah, like fingers crossed.
Right. Wow. I'm not even gonna pause you.